Well, thank you. Good afternoon. First of all, I am not Kirill. Unfortunately, my colleague Kirill had a small family emergency, so I had to cover for him. My name is Gioanola. I am consulting engineer and cloud services architect for Arbor Networks, NETSCOUT. And I worked with this company, and I worked with DDoS mitigation systems for more than 12 years. And today I will present you the state of DDoS in 2018. What I hope is an interesting set of statistics and recommendations that we at Arbor have based on our experience. So, well, this was supposed to have some animation, but so it will spoil the surprise. I want to start with some numbers. 7.7 million IoT devices are connected to the internet every day, and probably my father at home today now is connecting some stupid webcam or some other strange things that he doesn't understand anything about, and these devices run some version of Linux that nobody has ever updated for ages, and they probably have some standard password that nobody will even know how to change, and that's a big problem. 1 out of 500,000 is the amplification factor of memcached. You probably heard about this protocol that has been recently exploited for launching DDoS attacks. It's a protocol that somebody left open on the internet. Today there are still quite a good number of vulnerable servers on the internet left open, although a lot have been fixed. But with this rate of amplifications, and we give it a try in the lab, we could achieve even a little more than that. It means that if you send 1 byte to a vulnerable server, this server will reply with 500,000 bytes to the victim. And if you send 1 million bytes, it will reply with 500,000 million packets. So it's a big problem, and it's what we were referring to previously in the tuning section. This is something that could cause disruption at a global scale. The other big problem on the internet today is spoofed traffic. About 1/3 of internet service providers today still allow spoofed traffic to exit their network. That is, they do not filter the fact that I can pretend to be somebody that I am not, generate traffic with an IP address that is not mine, make it leave the network and send the replies to the actual victim. And this is a big problem, and this is 1/3 of AES numbers of, let's say, internet service providers in the world are still part of the problem because they let bad traffic leave their network and be used for attacks. 1.7 terabit per second is the size of the attack that we saw last year. Well, actually, February this year, one of our customers together with us mitigated this attack. And this is an interesting number because the memcached reflection attack, once we saw it, I remember when we saw the first attacks, it took us more or less half a day to understand what was the pattern of the attack. We realized how problematic it was and how large these attacks were, but we quickly realized that they were relatively easy to mitigate because they follow a very clear pattern. But the size here is the problem, because if you manage to generate this amount of traffic, you can, create congestion at the internet level for an entire country, for an internet exchange, for a very large DNS company, for example. So what happened and where are we? We think, and this is what we were again mentioning earlier in the tuning session, we are probably in this moment where we saw these large attacks, we saw this super huge botnet, there has been a lot of attacks that kind of threaten the very reliability of the internet, and now we are in this moment where the people managing these botnets, the people with these very powerful weapons are trying to understand what to do with these weapons. Should I just use them for, business as usual, and I take down your website and then I send you an email and tell you, okay, give me 10 Bitcoins if you want me to stop and keep on doing this small business? Or do I want to escalate it and I want to make it bigger and I want to create political disruption and I want to face the consequences of this type of attacks? So we have this impression that we are in this moment where there's a big availability of weapons and people are deciding how to exploit these weapons, and we should prepare on how to defend ourselves. And how do we defend ourselves? We defend ourselves with visibility, and this is what our company has been doing for the past 17, 18 years. One of the things that we built is a network that is called Atlas. Atlas is an initiative that we share with a lot of our customers. We have a lot of devices installed in service provider networks, and these service providers can share with us anonymous statistics to let us know what are the trends of the attacks they are seeing, what are the trends of the traffic, and share it with all the others that are participating in this initiative. With this kind of initiatives, you can see if there's an emerging threat, if there's an emerging trend of attacks, of traffic, and you can very quickly develop countermeasures and understand how they work and understand how to block them. Thanks to this data that is shared globally, we can see statistics on a geographical basis. And we prepared with Kirill, we prepared some data for Hungary specifically. This is interesting because I'm from Italy. I was doing a similar research for Italian traffic, and actually in the last 18 months, in Italy I saw exactly the opposite trend. I saw a decrease in the rate of attacks, where here we see a trend in increase of attacks. This probably refers to the local internet market, how much business is being done on the internet, and the more traffic we see on the internet, if it's growing, the more targets we see on the internet. So we see an increasing trend of attacks in the thousands detected globally towards Hungary. And again, this was interesting to me because again, in the same way, this was exactly the opposite of what I saw in Italy. In Italy, I saw a decrease in the number of attacks and an increase in the size of attacks, suggesting that we see less attacks but more targeted. Here we see the opposite, an increase in the number of attacks and more or less a decrease in the size of attacks. This suggests that there's a widespread activity of smaller attacks and people starting to use botnets that we know you can rent by the hour, you can rent by amount of time that you want. So if I want, for example, to take down the website of my competitor for 20 minutes during peak time so that everybody gets disconnected and everybody moves to my website, I will rent that botnet for just those 20 minutes and generate that small amount of traffic necessary to reach my goal. The size of the largest attacks, again, is not super high. We see some very large ones in some of the months. You see 60 gig, 50 gig, something like that. But again, this suggests that the attackers are using the attacking infrastructure just for the amount of time and for the size necessary to reach their goal. Okay, I will attack you, I will take you down, I will create the damage, I will reach my goal, and then I move to another attack. So, what can we do? I mean, this really looks like a global problem. So there are some suggestions. If you are an internet service provider, get rid of spoofed IPs to kill DDoS reflection. So if you see inside your network traffic that is generated by IP addresses that do not belong to you, that traffic is fake, and that traffic must not leave your network. There's a a best common practice, BCP38, that explains to service providers how to solve this problem and how not to be part of the problem. So try not to be part of the problem if you're a service provider. If you're a service provider or an enterprise, protect your borders. Protect your borders from infected hosts that you could have inside your network, and protect your borders from incoming traffic that might come. So scan your network, rate limit and block known threats. All the largest amplification attacks, Memcached, NTP, DNS, they follow relatively clear traffic path. These can be blocked or filtered in a relatively easy way. And also, if you're a service provider and you are distributing ADSL modems or stuff like that, push your vendors to implement security measures. And if you're a large enterprise and you're buying a lot of devices, make sure in your public tenders, in your RFQs, to require security measures in these devices. And implement DDoS mitigation strategies. You have to have visibility to understand when you're under attack and what type of attacks you're seeing, and you have to have this visibility in a scalable way, and NetFlow is the standard in the market to get this visibility from your network devices and see what's happening. FlowSpec is an expansion of the BGP routing protocol that lets you distribute very easily filters at the network level to mitigate attacks. Use intelligent mitigation devices if you have advanced needs for DDoS protection, or at the very least, ask your internet service provider what do they do to provide you clean pipes, to provide clean connectivity and availability of your internet connectivity. Keep in mind one interesting thing. It's not only about protecting, let's say, your website. It's about protecting your internet access. If your company has an internal network, your employees are accessing a lot of cloud services, and if the internet access doesn't work, nobody works, because somebody attacked you and nobody can connect to the internet, and it's a big damage. So that connectivity itself must be protected against attacks and must be available. I will leave you with a reading recommendation. Something that we do at NETSCOUT Arbor is that we have a large research team that looks into the Atlas data, looks into our honeynet that we use to perform reverse engineering on botnet traffic and understand what type of attacks and what type of command and control channels these devices use. And we create reports. We create a large annual report that is called Worldwide Infrastructure Security Report that you can find on our website. And this year we started doing a biannually report with some deeper findings that we found. So you can find it on our website, netscout.com/threat report. And this is a summary of the last 6 months of research of our security engineering response team, ACERT, where we provide global DDoS statistics and the findings that we have seen in the most dangerous families of botnets and attack vectors that we saw on the internet. It's not marketing speech, it's not a product brochure, it's just our research that we are sharing. You can see it also on the blog of ACERT and in the publications that we do, because we believe, and we have been working with service providers for now more than 17 years, and we believe that cooperation and visibility is key. Because if I see a certain type of attack and I don't tell anybody that I saw that attack will be successful again and again and again. If when I'm under attack, I explain to others what happened, what was the attack like, and what did I do to mitigate it, that attack is immediately neutralized at a global scale. So take a look at the report and come talk to us 2 floors down at our Arbor NETSCOUT booth if you have any other questions. Thank you very much.